Ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're based, as is the norm here. Today with us we have Professor Saleh, and Professor Saleh refers to himself as a man for change, a people's first man. He's currently the senior economic advisor in the government of the United Arab Emirates. Prior to that, he was the advisor to the prime minister in Egypt between 2006 and 2011. He was a project officer at the World Bank. He was advisor to the Minister of the Environment at the Egyptian government. He has a PhD from the University of Paris 1 Pantheon Sorbonne, a master's degree from Université Paris Cité, and another doctor's of philosophy from IAE Sorbonne Business School, again in Paris. Overall, Professor Saleh is a senior economic policy advisor, former advisor to the former minister, as I said. He has worked closely with the United Nations, USAID, is an international keynote and TV public speaker, a university professor, and super well versed to discuss with us economic growth, especially in the region of the Middle East, with a focus on Egypt and the UAE. Professor Saleh will be joining us shortly. I hope you enjoy this discussion. Hi, Professor Saleh.
Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you. How are you? Ahlan wa sahlan.
أهلا وسهلا.
Uh,
Um, can you tell me a little bit about you, Alex?
yeah. Also, so Professor Saleh, thanks for joining. It's an honor of mine having you here. I've gone ahead and introduced you to the world, but the floor is all yours. Please take a couple of minutes and let us know who you are.
Well, Alex, it's really a pleasure to be with you, and I like the comments that you've said before the recording that the aim is to let people understand that there are lessons here and there around the world, and that there are things to be learned, and that there are some prejudgments or some mistakes that people would have. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to listen to your questions. You shoot, and I'm going to answer you. My name is Dr. Amer Saleh. I'm a citizen of the world, Alex. I have Egyptian root, Lebanese roots. I have Turkish roots, Greek, some Greek roots, some Moroccan roots. I've lived in Paris all my life. Where I grew up, I was raised, and I did my PhD, my master degree. Then moved to Egypt, where I was appointed as a professor, and then worked with some ministers in Egypt. Went to the World Bank. I worked with the World Bank in Washington. And then what happened in the Middle East, all the chaos and the revolution, I left to the UAE. I came to the UAE, and I thought I'm going to stay for a year or two, then go back to Washington. But let me tell you that honestly, this country, the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the seven Emirates, that has a very beautiful story, by the way. They were like small countries and fighting together, and then came a very wise man, a very wise sultan, a king, an emir, sheikh. Well, sheikh. When we say sheikh, it means the emir or the sultan or the king. Sheikh Zayed that gathered those countries in one country and gave them the name of the United Emirates. So Emirates mean, a small a small country, or a small sultanate, or so they were gathered in one country, and they called themselves the peaceful Emirates, the friendly Emirates, and they were gathered in one country. So it's really a very nice story at a time where we see wars and genocides and killing and very sad, and it's more than sad events that happening in the world. So I'm here in UAE, Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, and again, we are really impressed by the economic development and the growth, the economic growth, and mainly the cultural model that inspires everyone. I'm an economist, and one of the most important lessons in economics or in market and business is to give the people the free access to the market. So this is really here a model at the UE where people come from all around the world. We have 210 nationalities, Alex, that are living in peace, in harmony, making business, making money, in a very peaceful and in a very peaceful and environment that is really full of harmony and very smooth. So I'll listen to your question and then shoot, and I'll try to answer you.
Just from that introduction, I have many questions that are forming,
Please
and
go ahead.
I'll start with the first one. Your transition from Paris and France and the US to Egypt. How was that transition for you? How was it? What were the main differences you saw?
It was not a transition because I was born in Egypt, moved to France, and then to the United States, came to Cairo, and then moved to UAE. So it's not really a transition. I've lived in different parts of the world. I can call myself citizen of the world, citoyen du monde, as the French used to say. So I do speak English, I do speak French, I do speak Arabic. I'm a little bit aware of the Anglo-Saxon languages, Latin languages. I've traveled a lot. So I didn't have any. I'm not having any problems dealing with different nationalities and different cultures. And think that you had a question, and you were asking me. I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil your question and
Go for it. Go
anticipate.
for it.
But you had a very interesting question about cultures and policy reforms. So I think that by time and with the experience, you come to use a common language or an international language, which is not really easy to adapt yourself to the mentality of other cultures. But there's always a common ground, Alex. I'm active on some platforms, LinkedIn especially, where I think that the advantage of these platforms is that it unifies people, and on such platforms you see lots of people from different cultures, from different backgrounds that speaks the same language. I mean, not the same language, but they have the same speech. So
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I think that answers most of it, and the rest of it we'll jump on to later on.
and let me tell you something, Alex. See, uh, your speech is a choice.
Mhm.
Your speech is a choice. Uh, it's your background and it's your culture, but it's also your choice to use which language. A language of hatred, a language of transparency, a language where you can or you want to accept people, or a language where you play on differences and arrogance and other feelings
Negatives.
and senses that are a part, Alex, of a certain culture that exists nowadays, that have existed, that have
Mhm.
always existed between human beings, and that's why I'm telling you that your speech is your choice, and you can choose to be an international person that speaks a unified language, and that speaks a language that everyone would love, accept, and talk to you with.
And I think that's the personal message for every individual, but it's also the message for the United Arab Emirates. And I'm jumping back a little bit into the point you made, because there's a lot of consensus, whether you go on LinkedIn and you look at the UAE, or whether you work there or you have worked with the UAE in my case, and you get a better understanding. So it's not just the reshaping of their global economic impact and the soft power that they have in the global arena. For me, the UAE represents essentially a continuation of American history, because if you look at the theoretical model of the US, it was built on things like manifest destiny, a city upon the hill where everybody could come and live peacefully and prosper, etc., etc. It could have deviated from that, but I see that same model as an idea being formulated in the Emirates. And for me, that's very important. Again, I'm deviating a little bit from the questions, but I that's how I interpret the UAE, and I just wanted your thoughts on it.
Well, UAE and US, I don't think that US is a reference. I mean, I don't hate the US. On the contrary,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I mean, I live there. The Americans, by the way, the Americans are sweet, extremely sweet. They're adorable. And if you deal with the American people, no, they're really adorable. I mean, I love them. Policies and political spheres are different. The
Yeah,
image of the U.S. actually is not the same like before. I mean, for X, Y, Z reasons, and now we don't want to dive into politics, but um, making a reference to the U.S. when you talk about the UE, I don't think that this is really a valid point. Let's talk about universal values, Alex. It's
sure.
true that it's true that the United States, with the Statue of the Liberty that in New York, that was taken, by the way. I mean, not taken. I mean, they given by the French, right? By the
Yeah,
French, the French Revolution, the French that had égalité, fraternité. That At that time, the French had universal values, human values, and those values, some of those values, by the way, they come from they come from the Arab empires, and you know that the civilization. If we go back to the old civilizations, I'm just making the link between the UE and the US. So
yeah,
if we
of
go
course.
back to the old civilization, you know that lots of ideas and science and wisdom traveled from Egypt, from the pharaohs to the
Yep.
Greek, and from the Greek to the Italian Empire, to Rome, and from Rome to Europe, and from Europe back to the Arab, and then back to the Europeans. They flew because this is universal. This is what is inside every human being. So the values, the American values, are universal, and that's why they are accepted everywhere. That's why Hollywood is everywhere, Alex. That's why we're wearing jeans. That's why I'm wearing this, Alex. This is not African. This is not UE. This is not Egyptian. This is not French. This is the British style, and it's a universal values. And what is really interesting, Alex, when you come to Dubai, 210 nationalities, Alex. When you go to the UAE, people are living peacefully. I've got lots of people, lots of my friends, the French, my French friends or European friends around the world. They come to my place, and then I invite them to Dubai, and then we go we go and have dinner, and then the first thing, the first comment they said, "Wow, it's clean."
Uh,
Wow, it's nice. I'm sorry, I don't want to make a comparison between some areas in New York or in Paris, but this is the word, and I mean it's really remarkable because when they say, "Wow, it's clean." Wow, it's nice. Wow, it's really organized. I mean, you don't hear people screaming, shouting. The cars. It's like you're in Tokyo. Everything is organized, but there's a flavor. There is an Oriental flavor, Alex. This Oriental flavor that comes from the noble values of the Arab world of the of the Ottoman warriors, of the Arab warriors,
Yeah.
the people here are very simple. Um, the values of the desert, the transparency of the desert, has been a transcend to the other generations, and the value of the desert, where what is very tough, but at the same time, it's very transparent. I mean, there's no volcanoes, are no animals. It's very transparent. It's clean. It's clean, and this environment, this clean and transparent environment, have shaped the personality of the people living in the desert. They're clean. They're transparent. They're direct. They're fair. They're fair, very fair, because the desert has to be fair, and they're helping each other. And there's a very nice word here in Dubai or in the UAE, which is called faza. Well, faza is when you see someone that's in difficulty. Faza means that you jump to help. And by the way, the there are lots of people that have this name Fazad, which means the guy that comes to help you. He doesn't know you. You're in the desert, you're lost, and you're gonna die, and then it's like in Aladdin, and then somehow a guy is coming and give you the water and save you. So this is the values. And by the way, Alex said, I've learned through my life as a policy advisor that the and this is a very important question. I think you wanted to ask this question: relation between culture and economic
Yeah.
growth. That life had taught us, and experiences have taught, especially in Asian countries, in Korea and Japan, especially in Japan, China, for example. Max Weber. Max Weber is one of the person that have wrote about the relation between the values and the economic growth. And it shows, and history have taught us that the values of the societies, the good values of society, that makes a good societies and a good business. So business is good for culture, and culture is good for business. And the starting point, Alex, in countries like the UAE, or in even Asia, or in Japan, is that the real discipline that exists in the UAE, like in Japan and Korea and Asian countries, the discipline, something is that is called ape. Ape. And
Go
ape
on.
is a word that is I cannot translate it in English. I mean, it's a mix of lots of meanings. Ape mean it's not good, it's not correct, you shouldn't do that, it's not bad, it's bad. Uh, it's a moral value that exists in a society, and it exists here. Uh, you don't do bad things because it's ape, because you shouldn't do that.
It's
I mean, it's a part of the education. So this ape makes you feel safe. Yeah, you don't lie, you don't cheat, everything is correct. There is a discipline, and beside, of course, beside there is a rule of law that exists. I mean, despite what is always said in the media, but there is an Arabic or an Arab wisdom that exists here, and it comes from the fathers that have created this country, Alex. Uh, this is to tell you, this is to let you know that social values and cultural values are always shaping economic systems. Look at what's happening in some countries. I don't want to name some countries, but you were talking about chaos. Look at some countries, even in the United States, where even in France, where France today is not like France where I was born and lived, Alex. I was born in the 70s. Paris today is not Paris like the
No.
Paris I knew in the 80s. It's not Paris of Victor Hugo, right? London of Shakespeare's is not the same
Oh.
London, you know. The United States and some area there. I mean, so societies have changed. The societies have changed, and this is to let you know that the social and in some areas, in some countries where those areas are poor and the values are poor and the system is poor and discipline is poor, you can never have an economic growth. You can have an autocratic system, but you will never have an economic growth. So economic growth comes always, and development, economic development, and social and human developments come always with good values and wisdom that are inside of us. We lost those values, but in some countries, those values are an engine for growth.
I don't want to be the devil's advocate, but I grew up hearing "Aib, Aib" every time I would
He's
do something.
you be the advocate. I'll be the devil.
I grew up listening to "Aib, Aib," and I genuinely agree with you on the things of the discipline and the transparency. But if you sit and benchmark the UAE, or let me generalize it a little bit, if you benchmark one specific region of the Middle East with some other regions of the Middle East, you don't see the exact same level of economic growth, transparency, clear business, clear culture, clear politics. Um, I mean, I could mention Libya that is not hegemonous at all whatsoever, and I could also mention from experience Egypt that to me is also not very clearly hegemonious when it comes to stuff like that. And you don't see the exact growth that you see in the UAE. So, as an economist, why do you think that is? Is it purely culture? What drives that difference?
Well, we're heading to the where the idea of État-nation, the nations, the old nations are disappearing. You know, when you go to London, when you go to Paris, when you go to the United States, Canada, for example, you know, it's a melting pot.
Hmm.
So yeah, Egypt is not homogeneous, and the Arab world is not homogeneous. I'm always against the word Arab world because I mean the Arab word is from Mauritania to Saudi Arabia to UAE to Lebanon, which is totally different comparing to Mauritania and Morocco.
Different world.
It's completely different compared to Sudan, which has nothing to do with Syria and Iraq and Oman. But anyway,
Lebanon
they
is
speak
closer
this
to Europe for me. Lebanon is
exactly.
Europe for me.
So they speak the same language, and you find some people speaking Arabic even in Malta,
Yeah.
which Malta is not a part of the Arab world. But anyways, it's a cultural entity. But coming back to your question about discipline and chaos, in economics, in the book, in economics, in any book, uh, uh, um, um, when you start by reading um, any book of economics, you start by reading things related to what is the market and market entry,
Hmm.
and how that the market functions. The market functions if there are four conditions. One of them is free entry, free exit, freedom.
Okay.
That's what the French call laisser faire, laisser passer. Let him go, let him work, let him do, and uh, and this is freedom. Freedom is and that's what Max Weber wrote when he compared the Catholic societies with the Orthodox and the Catholic societies with the Anglo-Saxons and the Protestant societies. The difference between the two religions is freedom. There is no Pope in the Protestant. Protestant are more free. So freedom is a pillar. uh, we don't interfere. We will not tell you do this. You do what you want to do, and this is a part of creativity and innovation, by the way. But I mean, there are general rules. So laissez faire, laissez passer, let him do, invisible hand, there is an invisible hand in the market. All the things that we read about in the books of economics exists in the culture. And I'm going to go back to the culture of the UAE. You know, when you come to the UAE, the first thing that we tell you at the airport is hayak. Hayak mean you're welcome. So the word
Hmm.
hayak is always, and I do work in a public institutions here, in a government entity. The spirit of hayak, the spirit of come and welcome. You're here between your brothers and sisters. It's your place. This is a part of the pillar of economic freedom. So the word hayak, the word hala
Mhm.
means you're welcome. Those two words that are Arabic words and words from the Emirates, from the Emirati language, the very old Emirati language, by the way, hayak, hala, is a part of the economic success. And that's why I told you that when you come here and see 200, more than 200 nationalities, from countries that are really a little bit far from the UAE, like in Venezuela or Costa Rica, Brazil, and from the Far East and the Middle East and the North and the West, living in harmony. There's a place where we used to go with my friends, which is the church place, and not many people know that there are churches in the UAE, and it's a beautiful place, by the way. And by the way, the government dedicated the land and gave the land for free for people to make the churches. And when you see on Sunday the people in the Muslim world, in the middle of the Muslim world, in Dubai or in the UAE or in Abu Dhabi, going to church like they have always done in their countries, and this is really a sign of success. And this is the starting point, Alex. This is where you can grow and build creativity, innovation, freedom, transparency. You're here not to make money, and that's really an interesting point. You're not here to make money. You're here to live and to prosper and to build something. Alex, one of the things that it's really amazing here in this country is that the fathers of the nations, and the fathers of the nation is a very nice word, by the way. The rulers or the sheikhs, I mean, they're very spontaneous and very down
Everything
to
you
earth.
say is so poetic, Professor.
Yeah, it looks like the one on Southern Nights and Aladdin. I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine seeing Donald Trump, for example, or Emmanuel Macron taking his car, driving his car, and then suddenly he's just behind you in the traffic in the signal, and then opening the window and talking to you and say, hi, how are you? How are you doing? How's your day? See, it's happening. It's happening here. The ruler of the country in his car without any, yeah, without any bodyguards, walking freely. You can see the Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, Mohammed bin Rashid, all those big names, in the malls and walking and talking to people. This is really doesn't happen in the West, and
No.
it doesn't happen. And I mean, it's really poetic, as you said, but this is something that happens here, and it's not for the media. It's not for the media, Alex. This is because those people have grown up in the desert, and they grown up going from here to there and there from here to there in a free area, in a free space, without any constraints, without any fear. The country is very
It's
peaceful.
beautiful to see that they've converted that into a whole policy of the nation. It's national policy. And it's been
Exactly.
converted to that instead of anything else that we've seen in other, let's say, I don't want to say authoritarian regimes because it sounds too worse than what it really is, but in different regimes. So, I mean, even in the West, you haven't seen it convert that way. Maybe in the 70s, as you mentioned, but not today.
Yeah, the word converted is a really nice word. I mean, I hope people won't understand it in a bad way, in a bad way, because misunderstanding is always there. But converted, yeah. I mean, let's say translated. The ideas and the values that exist that, and you know, when you talk to even with decision makers, I deal with decision makers, and when I deal with decision makers, that's really sweet and very, very nice. And when we talk about some issues and some problems, and you know, what they tell me, they tell you know, doctor, uh, let it be. Let's do like this because those are the values of our fathers and our rulers. And this word is really amazing. You know, when a minister tells you, you know, let's not do that because our rulers have done that, because our father wanted to do that, because these are their values: transparency, tolerance. There's a lot of tolerance here, Alex, and again, this is one of the pillars of a free economy. You know, when Margaret Thatcher invented privatization, what does it mean privatization? Privatization means less state, right? You delegate, you give your power to the private sector. So there's a less state. The power of the state is less in intervening in the economy. However, the power of the state is in storing a wise and fair and transparent discipline. And this is what is happening here. Um, Everybody is doing business. People are working. People are happy. And by the way, you know better than me that the UE, the UE had uh, the first, and they invented the first Ministry of Happiness, and they had the
Yeah,
first Minister of
yeah.
Happiness. And we're not talking about
I run
we're
the
not.
project on that back in the day as a provider. When they brought it to me, I had no idea what it was. I know the consultancy that did that. No idea what it was, how it was, but we found the guy that actually built the index for the quality of happiness and helped them set it up.
Exactly. I mean, we're not in heaven. I mean, let's be realistic. But at least you're trying to make people happy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that everyone here is, I mean, 200% happy, but at least when one of your targets is to make people happy, this is very noble. In the public sector, in the government, you don't have center for services for the clients, but you have happiness centers, center
Mhm.
for happiness. When you go to the telecom companies or to the government institutions and you deal with the government institutions, you're going to the happiness centers. And those centers are called happiness centers to invite the public officers and the public employees to deal with happiness and to deal with great satisfaction with the customer and with the clients and with the people and with the citizens.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so I mean, even if it's, let's be practical, even if it's not really 100% heaven, but at least you're proud to trying to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, Alex, but you at least you're trying to be perfect and try to be better and try to be the best. One of the goals of the UE, the EU national goals is to be number one in everything, in competitiveness, but also in the quality of life. You talked about the quality of life and the happiness index. That's what the fathers of these nations, and I'm repeating this word. I know I've said it
other
twice,
nation.
three times, four times, and it looks weird for some our European friends. But the father of these nations, we're talking about the family. See the interpretation. We're talking about the family, Alex. And when we talk about a father of the nations of this nation, we're talking about family, and a family is from 200 nationalities. So we don't have here racism. We don't have a blaspheme. There is no sexual harassment. These things are very minimal here, and if it exists, it's immediately corrected and see, this is a country that tried to be an example, try to be a model.
Yeah.
And what's really amazing, Alex, is it's trying to be not only an economic model, but a human model, a model for economic prosperity and economic development and human
And to
development.
me, it has succeeded a lot more than the West has in terms of just implementing DEI models, for example, or whatnot. The UAE has actually, on point, achieved it very simply.
Yeah, you see, if you allow me, I really don't like to talk about the East and the West
Yeah.
because that means that there are differences. It's true that we're different, and in the Bible, like in the Quran, it's mentioned that I have created you different. So differences is one of the things that are inside us. I've created you different, but I've made you different. Look at the rest of what is written. I've made you different so you can exchange, understand each other, and deal with each other. Not because I need you to fight with each other and kill each other. And that's what is mentioned in the Holy Book and in the spirit and the values of this country and this land.
I like that. I like that very much, and I'd like us to focus a little bit on leadership and legacy, because it sounds to me like those two themes are very intertwined in the UAE. And I want your experience on it. You've worked with multiple governments. You worked with international organizations. You've gone through global revolutions, recessions, conflicts.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of leadership, what is a difficult decision you had to make, and what is a difficult decision you had to see being made by someone else? And I mean, other than this is the way our fathers would have wanted it, what sort of surprised you from said decisions?
Being an advisor is not an easy task. It's it's one of the it's one of the most painful things that you can do in your life to be an advisor because you're not a project manager. I mean you're just advising, so people can take your advice or cannot take your advice. Uh, I like more to be a project manager, and I was a project manager, project officer, and in many countries where I have worked as an advisor to minister, prime ministers, I was a project manager. So I'm trying to be an advisor and a project manager at the same time because it's useless to bring ideas and to give ideas unless those ideas are not translated or converted or put in place. So I've succeeded. Where I've succeeded, Alex, is where I have uh, translated the ideas into projects. And that's what I always say to my team and to people in the trainings we give to the ministry and to the people here and everywhere, and even with the World Bank and everywhere where I did trainings. I've been doing training for the last 25 years. It doesn't show, but I mean, I did more than I did more than 250 training courses. I mean, training sessions, workshops, and in most of the trainings, uh, especially on innovation and ideas, I've been saying that there's nothing cool ideas. I mean, I don't bloody care about ideas. What I'm gonna do with ideas? Ideas are very good. What is important is to transform these ideas and to convert those ideas into a product. I need a product, guys. I need a product. Don't give me ideas. Give me a product. So one of the things that are really interesting is to take those ideas and to transform into a product, and a product would give you an output and outcome. I mean, what is this outcome? This is another story. Um, Wages, job creation, economic. This is so it's really important to have ideas, but it's more important to have tangible things. So tangible things is much more important. Being an advisor, and you talk about leadership, I've learned, and this was a part of my PhD. I was working on privatization in the Middle
Mm-hmm.
East, and I do remember my professor Xavier Richer, who I have to give the credit to him, an extraordinary guy who passed away last year, by the way. He was a professor at La Sorbonne University. Vladimir Andreev, my my co-professor, and those people have taught me the ABC of policy reforms. And in policy reforms, the most important thing is leadership. Nothing could be done without leadership. Leadership is the base of everything. You can install, you can invent 200 million of laws. If you don't have the leadership, if you don't have with the leadership something is which is called the political will. And every day I'm saying this to my team, Alex. Here I'm telling them that you have to be proud, and this is a big responsibility on your shoulder because you're in a place where you have a marvelous and enormous political will from the leaders to change things. So you're carrying this responsibility on your shoulders. So move, move,
That's amazing.
move your ideas.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, huh? Move your ideas and move and let make things change because there's a political will. The leaders want things to change. In some countries where I've worked and where I had several missions, we did lots of projects, Alex, but there was no political will.
Oh
The
well.
corruption, the resistance to change was really a major impediment, and it blocked everything. So leadership is the starting points, and the leadership should come with a political will. In this country, in the UAE, there's a huge political will, an enormous. You cannot imagine the you cannot imagine the. I'm not gonna talk. I mean, I'm not in a position to talk about them, but you know, people like Mohammed bin Zayed, like
Hmm.
Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, uh, Sheikh Sultan, this wise guy that is called the wise of the Arab. Um, People are full of wisdom, but full of energy and enormous willing to change things. And this political will is an agent for growth. It's an enormous. And when you come to the UAE or when you read about, or I mean, in the newspapers or when you follow those people, and you can follow their speeches, their ideas, their values that are transcended to the decision makers and then to the public sector and economic agency and public agencies. It's like an angel for growth. So leadership is really essential. Coming back to your question, leadership is essential, and you cannot do anything without leadership and political will. And where I have succeeded is where I have found a political will. And by the way, my first question, when a job is offered to me, I'm going to work with who? Who's going to be my counterpart? Who's going to listen to me? Wants to change? Because I'm a game changer, Alex. So yeah, leadership is yeah.
It's amazing to see that they're receptive to you being a game changer, that they want you to do this. Because I come from two countries that are very high in corruption, and that's not particularly something that you can see so much in Greece, for example, let's say, or the Balkans, or some countries of the Middle East. So for me, seeing it, hearing you say this is amazing. It's like motivating me to become a game changer in the Middle East, in UAE.
I'm proud and I'm happy, and these are not words for the media publications, but I'm really happy to be here because, and that's what I'm saying to my team. I'm lucky to be here, and because I've worked in lots of countries where corruption and misuse of power and misuse of laws are an impediment to growth. And by the way, even the World Bank, Alex, finally, because there was nothing to do. So even the World Bank called the corruption, and listen to this, in one of the publications that I saw years ago, maybe 20 years ago, called the corruption a lubricant for growth. Because, I mean, you cannot, I mean, it's really funny. It's a lubricant. I mean, you need some corruption because to make things, to make things work, because this is the way it is. I mean, you cannot change people and you cannot change the system and you cannot You cannot reinvent another system. This is the way it is. The issue now is what is the percentage of this corruption and how it is used and how far it goes and is it an engine for growth or is it an impediment? Anyway, this is not a justification for the corruption, but you know, this is a part also of the cultural system. Here in schools, the Bedouins under their tent, under the tent, they learn that there is something called ape, as I told you at the beginning, which is
Right.
we don't do that. We don't do that. So it's a cultural value. Corruption is a cultural value.
Okay, that's very interesting. And as to it being a lubricant of growth, I have some very condescending feelings about that. I can see it potentially in some economies, partially, especially back in the day. Let's say the Italian mafia moving into the U.S. I could see that, for example, but I can't really see it nowadays that much. I think not currently it's more of an impediment rather than an incentive of growth.
Well,
Sorry, I
I mean, I'm not I'm not saying that corruption should be an incentive for growth, but I'm saying that even the
No, I
World
was
Bank,
commenting on the World Bank. It's not
yeah,
at all on your end. It was mostly on the World Bank's report there. But
yeah, even the financial institutions. I mean, because sometimes you can do nothing about corruption. So we tend to consider a part of the corruption, and I say a part of the corruption. Not, I mean, we're not calling for total corruption, but I mean, part of the corruption, giving a present to someone or facilitating something is sometimes and it exists in the United States. I mean, don't talk about financing political parties.
fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
mean,
Fair enough.
it's legalized. I mean, but it's a part of the lubricant. This is a kind of lubricant that makes the machine goes on.
Professor, I have two final questions for you.
Please.
The first one is personally, I had lost a lot of hope in the Middle East, and the UAE has the past few years that I've worked again with major consultancies that have helped the area, and I've been getting a look into their projects and how they do stuff and what they do. For me, has regained a little bit. I'm not going to say of a moral high ground. I'm just going to say of what I would perceive as a functioning Arab society in the area. So for me, I'm very proud of the UAE and the work it's doing. Do you think it will continue down the line in the many years to come? Because there's I've read some theories recently that they argue that the UAE will inevitably either be corrupted or become an interim hub for all the wealthy people that want to move out of the West or the East and want to live a normal and peaceful life. So it's either going to stay as it is and keep on growing, or it's going to turn out to be worse, like the US or France, for example. So I just wanted your thoughts on how you feel about that.
Well, it's a different model, Alex. You can never compare the UAE to the US. I mean, there are some aspects. I mean, this is a country, this is a place now where lots of people are dreaming to be here. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a place where people love to be here. Uh, well, some people will tell you, okay, this is fake, this is modern, but this is way it is. But this is lovely, this is nice. I mean, this is the quality of life. It's
Mm-hmm.
not green. It is. I mean, uh, it's it's artificial. It's modern,
It's
but
artificial green.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not the green mountains and the green valleys, but Dubai is very green. By the way, if you go to Dubai or you go to lots of areas in Abu Dhabi, it's amazing. I mean, in some parts, you wouldn't imagine that this was a desert years ago. But anyways, you cannot compare the UE to Europe. It's a different state of mind. And maybe the US at the beginning, the US was a place where people came from all over the world looking for a dream, an American dream. In the UAE, there is a dream, and
There's yeah.
there's a dream. Of course, people are here. And the challenge and the main challenge of the leaders here is to not to keep this dream alive, but to make it human as much as we can. Because we don't want to fail. We don't want to, as you said, bring all the big shots and the millionaires from all over the world, and then bring the corruption and money laundering and those kind of things here.
Hmm.
It's not about that. It's about simply. Let me tell you something, Alex, that lots of people doesn't know, and I didn't know, by the way, because you're talking about the Arab world and the Middle East.
Hmm.
And with the Arab word is a word that is it means a lot of things, and sometimes
It
it means
does. It
nothing
does.
because you know when you compare Mauritania to Dubai, which with all the respect we do to
You live in the
Mauritania,
world.
or Sudan to Lebanon, it's not the same. It's not the same
No, sure.
setup. So when people came from all over the world, like in the US. They came for a dream. And the challenge here in the UAE is not to keep this dream alive, but to keep this dream um, alive with the values of the Arab noblesse, of the
Hmm.
noble values and the transparent values that have lived here years ago, 1,000 years ago. In this society, this is an Eastern society, Alex. And the UAE is on the eastern side. It's not in the Middle
Hmm.
East. But the UAE is not the Middle East, by the way. The UAE it's near the Far East and the Asian countries. And there's a part of the Asian cultures that exists here. This peaceful culture that exists in Asian
Hmm.
countries where you have values of respect. Respect is a major value here. You respect everything. You respect yourself. You respect the law. You respect others. You respect your culture. You respect the religion. There is a respect here, and there is also a word that I didn't know because it's really an Emirati word that is really it's not. I mean, I don't think that's in Arabic. I mean, it's a really pure Emirati word that is called sana, and sana is uh, is a word that means wasana is the authentic authentic values and culture of the people of the Emirates, and it's a whole culture, and it's an etiquette, by the way. It starts from the way you enter a place, and it goes to the way you eat, you drink your coffee, how you drink your coffee, how you wear your shoes, how you're dressed, how you talk to people, how you respect older people. And by the way, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, which is the ruler of this country, I've called years ago to make the sana as something that is cultivated and educated in schools, and this is something that is going to be given to the kids in school to teach them and to make them learn the authentic culture and values of this country. So coming back to your question about the future of the UAE, as far as we still have those values, I'm really confident that this country will grow and will go far and will produce um, a um, a not only economic growth but human progress and human values and prosperity, and that's really important, much more important sometimes than money and wealth.
Wonderful. Yeah. Professor, my final question to you is if you had one piece of advice to the younger generations, what would that be? Tough one.
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting question. I mean, being a professor, this is one of my tasks, my hobbies, my missions, my everything. is to give advice to people. I do give advice to decision makers, but one of my happiest moments is when I'm among my students and I do work with my students. So the advice that I give them is to um, learn, 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 think, 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 but with lots of wisdom and to which is really impossible and very difficult today, but to try to make the difference between the right and the wrong, and not to lose your wisdom, not to lose the sources, come back to the sources, because this is going to be always the light that is going to guide you to the future. If you don't know where you're coming from, you never know where you're going to. And lots of nations, because they lost their direction, they lost direction because they lost their sources and they lost the wisdom that exists and that have always existed. So again, to make a long story short, is to learn, to think with lots of wisdom and with lots of human values, and that's really a very difficult message and something that is really I think it's going to be difficult to make because I see that the world is going into other directions, Alex, with the social medias and all those things that are converting and sabotaging the minds of our children.
I agree with you. I just think there might be an oasis of sanity somewhere out there in the world.
Let's hope.
Professor, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. It was an honor having you. Thank you, and I'm sorry I took a little bit more than what I should have. It was just a fascinating discussion, and hopefully, I'll get to meet you in person soon.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. I don't know you, and you knock at my door through LinkedIn. That was really a pleasure, and I hope there. I mean, I don't know you, but I hope that there are lots of people like you that really wants to preach wisdom and make people learn from the good lessons that we
I think it's the Arabic side of me.
keep it. Don't lose
Yeah.
it.
Good. Thank you,
Thank,
Professor.
thank you so much, Agnes. It was a
All
pleasure
the
to
best.
see you.
Likewise. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much.